The doorbell rang at exactly 7:30, and I heard my daughter's voice from upstairs before I could even move toward the door. "Mom, seriously? You're not actually going through with this, are you?" I smoothed down my navy dress, checked my reflection one last time in the hallway mirror, and reached for my purse. Robert was standing on the porch with flowers, yellow roses, my favorite. He'd remembered from our third date. Linda, Emily, appeared at the top of the stairs, her face flushed. "You look ridiculous. You're 63 years old." I opened the door, smiled at Robert, and turned back to my daughter. "I'll be home by 11. Don't wait up." Behind her, I could hear my son-in-law Jake laughing. Not a chuckle, not a quiet snicker, a full, theatrical laugh that carried down the stairs and followed me out onto the porch. That was 4 months ago. That was when it started. Let me back up. Let me tell you how I ended up here, in this townhouse, that I own, and yes, I own it. Every square foot, my name on the deed, living with a daughter who thinks my life should have ended the day my divorce papers were signed. 2 years ago, my marriage of 35 years dissolved. Richard left me for someone younger, someone uncomplicated, someone who didn't remind him that he was getting old. The house we'd raised Emily in, the house with the garden I'd tended for decades, the house with the kitchen where I'd made every birthday cake and holiday dinner, that house went on the market. "Split the assets," the lawyer said. "Start fresh." I didn't want fresh. I wanted my life back. But you don't always get what you want. Emily called me the day after I signed the divorce papers. She was crying. The landlord was selling their rental, and they had 60 days to move. Jake's business was struggling. They had 2 kids, twins, just turned 8. Could I help? So I took my half of the house sale, added my savings, and I bought this townhouse, 3 bedrooms upstairs, small guest suite on the main floor, perfect for Emily's family, with room for me. Temporary, I told myself, just until they got back on their feet. The deed went in my name, because my credit was better, because I had the down payment, because it was my money. I told Emily this was her home, but I never said I was giving it to her. I said I'd always have a place here. Always turned out to be a smaller word than I thought. For the first year, things were fine, good, even. I helped with the twins, drove them to soccer practice, made dinner most nights. Emily was grateful. Jake was polite. The kids called me Grammy and asked me to read them bedtime stories. Then I joined a book club. Then I started taking watercolor classes at the senior center. Then I met Robert. Robert was a retired engineer, widowed 5 years, with kind eyes and a dry sense of humor. We met at the library, both reaching for the same book, both laughing about how cliché it was. He asked me to coffee, then dinner, then another dinner. The first time I mentioned him to Emily, she wrinkled her nose. "You're dating?" "I'm having dinner with a friend." "Mom, you're not seriously interested in men at your age, are you?" I should have seen it then, the way she said your age like it was a medical condition, but I ignored it. I went to dinner with Robert again and again. He was easy to talk to. He didn't make me feel invisible. When I spoke, he listened. When I laughed, he laughed with me, not at me. The night he brought the yellow roses, something shifted. After that evening, Emily stopped asking about my day. Jake stopped making eye contact. At family dinners, when I mentioned Robert casually, the way you'd mention any friend, they'd exchange glances. The twins would giggle until Emily shushed them. "What's so funny?" I asked once. "Nothing, Grammy," my granddaughter said. "It's just, you have a boyfriend at your age." There it was again. My age. As if I'd reached some invisible expiration date for human connection. I started keeping my plans with Robert quiet. I'd wait until everyone was distracted, then slip out. I'd say I was going to book club, to the grocery store, to anywhere that didn't require explanation. But they noticed anyway. Mom came home late again last night. I heard Emily tell Jake one morning. I was in my room, my guest suite on the main floor, the room that was supposed to be mine but felt more like a storage closet they tolerated. "She's acting like a teenager. It's embarrassing." Let her have her fun, Jake said, but I could hear the smirk in his voice. How long can it last, really? Who wants to date a woman her age? I stood there, one hand on my doorknob, unable to move. That afternoon, I went to lunch with Robert. He took me to the Italian place downtown, the one with the outdoor patio and the good wine. We talked about his daughter's visit, about my watercolor class, about the book we were both reading. Normal things, easy things. When he dropped me off, he walked me to the door. He kissed my cheek, gentle and respectful, and told me he'd had a wonderful time. Emily was watching from the upstairs window. The next morning, I found her in the kitchen, arms crossed. We need to talk about your behavior. My behavior? I was 63 years old, and my daughter wanted to talk about my behavior. What about it? I kept my voice even. You're making a fool of yourself, Mom. People are talking. Jake's mother saw you at that restaurant, hanging all over some man. Hanging all over? I set down my coffee cup. I was having lunch. You were on a date. You were dressed up, wearing makeup, acting like you're young again. It's inappropriate. Inappropriate for whom? For someone your age. You're a grandmother, Mom. You're supposed to be. Supposed to be what? Dead? Invisible? Sitting in a rocking chair waiting to fade away? Emily's mouth tightened. You're being dramatic. I'm being alive. Well, it's making everyone uncomfortable. Everyone. Not her. Everyone. I went to my room and closed the door. I stood there, looking at the space that was supposed to be mine. The guest suite, 12 by 14 feet. A bed, a dresser, a small attached bathroom. All my things from my old life, from the house with the garden, packed into boxes in the garage because there wasn't room here. That night, Robert called. Emily answered the landline, the one in the kitchen, the one I'd had installed because cell service was spotty in the townhouse. She's not available, Emily told him. I was standing right there. No, I don't know when she'll be free. I think she's busy this week. Maybe you should try again later. Much later. She hung up. He's not good for you, Mom. You don't even know him. I know he's taking advantage of you. Men his age who date women, they're looking for nurses, not partners. Or they're after money. Robert has his own money, his own house, his own life. Then why is he interested in you? The question hung there between us, sharp and cruel. I didn't answer. I went to my room. I called Robert from my cell phone and apologized. He was kind about it, understanding, but I could hear the confusion in his voice. Why was my grown daughter screening my calls? The incidents multiplied. Robert and I made plans to see a movie. I got dressed, put on the earrings he'd complimented before. When I came upstairs, Jake was sprawled on the couch, remote in hand. Going somewhere? The 7 o'clock show. In that? He looked me up and down. Might want to dress your age, Linda. You look like you're trying too hard. I changed. Threw the earrings on my dresser. Wore a simple sweater instead of the blouse I'd chosen. Felt ashamed of myself for letting his words matter. Robert noticed. You look lovely, he said, but not as sparkly as usual. Everything okay? Everything's fine, but it wasn't fine. I came home one evening to find my bedroom door open. I always closed it. Always. Inside, Emily was going through my dresser drawers. What are you doing? She jumped, guilty. I was looking for her. I thought I left my scarf in here, but my dresser drawer was open. The one where I kept my personal things. The one where I'd tucked the birthday card Robert had given me. The one with the sweet message inside. Did you find your scarf? No. Must be somewhere else. She left quickly, but not before I saw what was in her hand. My card. She'd been reading my card. The next day, Jake made a comment at dinner. So, Linda, Robert's quite the romantic, huh? Writing poetry and birthday cards? He'd never seen that card. I'd never mentioned it. They were talking about me, reading my private things, discussing my life like I was a problem to be solved. I stopped bringing Robert around. I started making excuses. I had a headache. I was tired. Maybe next week. He was patient, but I could feel him pulling back, confused by my sudden distance. One afternoon, I forgot my phone on the kitchen counter. When I came back for it, I saw the screen lit up with a message from Robert. Miss you. Hope you're feeling better. Would love to take you to dinner tomorrow if you're up for it. That evening, Emily confronted me. You're still seeing him? Yes, after we asked you to stop. You asked? I didn't agree. Mom, this has to end. It's affecting the kids. They're confused about why Grammy has a boyfriend. They're getting teased at school. They're getting teased because you're making this weird. If you treated it normally, there's nothing normal about a woman your age dating. It's sad, Mom. Can't you see that? You're chasing something that's already gone. You had your chance at love. It's over. Accept it. My chance is over? I felt something crack inside me. Because I'm 63? Because I'm divorced? Because I'm a grandmother? Because you're my mother, and you're embarrassing this family. I left the house. Went to the park, the one by the lake where I used to take Emily when she was small, sat on a bench and watched the sun set. Called Robert and told him I needed space. Heard the hurt in his voice when he said he understood. But could he at least know why? I couldn't tell him. How do you explain that your own daughter thinks you're too old to be loved? That night, I came home late. The house was dark except for the TV glow from upstairs. I went to my room, my little guest suite, and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I was so tired. Tired of shrinking. Tired of apologizing for taking up space. Tired of living in my own house, like a guest who'd overstayed her welcome. I reached for my phone to text Robert an apology for the distance I'd created. The screen lit up with notifications, missed calls, voicemails, all from him, all worried. Then I saw it. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Linda, this is Robert's daughter. He gave me your number. He's worried about you. He thinks you don't want to see him anymore. But he wanted me to tell you that if it's about what's right or wrong, you should know he's been happier these past months than he's been since my mother died. Whatever's going on, please don't push him away because you think you're supposed to. I read it 3 times. Then I opened my small closet, reached for the back, and pulled out the box I'd packed when I moved. The important documents box, insurance papers, old photos, and there, in a folder marked Townhouse, the deed, my name. Just my name. Linda Catherine Morrison, sole owner. I sat on my bed, holding that deed, and something crystallized in my mind. This was my house, mine. I'd bought it with my money, my settlement, my savings from 35 years of marriage. I'd purchased it to help my daughter, yes, but I'd never signed it over. I'd never agreed to disappear. The next morning, I made coffee early, before anyone else was awake. I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop, searched for real estate lawyers, found one with good reviews, made an appointment for that afternoon. Mom? Emily appeared in the doorway, hair messy from sleep. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Listen. About last night. It's fine, Emily. No, it's not fine. I think we need to set some ground rules. About Robert. About your dating. Jake and I have been talking, and we think it's best if you focus on family right now, on being here for the kids, on being a grandmother, not trying to relive your 20s. I looked at her, really looked at her. When had she become this person? This woman who thought love had an age limit? I have an appointment this afternoon, I said. I'll be out for a few hours. Appointment for what? Personal business. Mom, personal, Emily. The lawyer's office was in a downtown high-rise. Her name was Patricia Chen, and she was efficient and sharp. I showed her the deed, explained the situation, not all of it, not the cruel comments and the invasion of privacy, just the basics. I owned the house. My daughter's family lived with me. Things weren't working out. What were my options? She reviewed the deed, made some notes, asked about local tenancy laws. How long have they lived there? 2 years. Have they paid rent? No, it was. I told them they could live there without a formal lease agreement. It was my daughter. I didn't think I needed. I understand. Patricia's voice was kind but firm. Here's the situation. They're technically tenants at will. You can ask them to leave, but you need to give proper notice. In this state, that's 60 days for a dwelling they've occupied for over a year. You'll need to provide written notice. And if they refuse, then you can file for eviction. It's a legal process, and it's not pleasant, but the house is yours. You have every right to determine who lives in your property. I nodded, absorbing this. Mrs. Morrison, may I ask, have you tried talking to them? Yes. And they don't hear me. They see me as something that's supposed to fade into the background, as someone whose life is over. Patricia looked at me for a long moment. My mother is 70. She got remarried last year. She's happier than I've ever seen her. Age doesn't make us less human. It doesn't make us less deserving of respect. She slid a document across the desk. This is a notice to vacate template. 60 days. Think about it. If you want to proceed, fill it out, sign it, and deliver it to them. I recommend having a witness present. I took the document, folded it carefully, put it in my purse. How much do I owe you? Consultation is free. If you need me to file anything, we'll talk fees then. But Mrs. Morrison? She stood, offered her hand. Whatever you decide, don't let anyone make you feel like you need to apologize for living your life. I drove home slowly, parked in the driveway behind Jake's truck, sat there for a moment, engine off, staring at the house I'd bought, the house that was supposed to be a fresh start, a second chapter. Instead, it had become a cage. I went inside. Emily and Jake were in the kitchen, the twins at the table doing homework. Normal. Everything looked so normal. How was your appointment? Emily asked, not looking up from her phone. Productive. That evening, Robert called. I stepped outside to answer, onto the small back patio that overlooked the postage stamp yard. Linda, I don't want to pressure you, but I need to know, do you want to keep seeing each other? Because if this is about me, if I've done something wrong, you haven't done anything wrong. Then what's going on? I looked back at the house, saw Emily through the kitchen window, saw her glance out and frown when she spotted me on the phone. It's complicated. I'm retired. I have time for complicated. And I laughed. Actually laughed. Can I see you tomorrow? For coffee? I have some things I need to figure out, but I want to see you. I'd like that. Linda? Yes, you're worth fighting for. Whatever's complicated, you're worth it. I hung up and stood there in the dark, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel invisible. The next few weeks, I was careful. I met Robert for coffee, for lunch, for walks in the park, but I didn't bring him home. I didn't mention him to Emily. I kept that part of my life separate, protected, at home, I observed, really observed. I noticed how Emily left her coffee cups in my room, expecting me to bring them upstairs. How Jake made jokes about Linda's wild adventures when friends came over. How the twins were starting to echo their parents' tone. Grammy's going out again? With her boyfriend? Giggles. I noticed how my mail got opened by accident. How my schedule was discussed without me present. How I'd become not a person, but a problem. One evening, I overheard a conversation from the upstairs hallway. I'd come home early from dinner with Robert. He'd had to cut it short. Something about his grandson's recital. I was about to call up that I was home when I heard my name. Your mom's still seeing him. That was Jake. I know. I saw them at the park yesterday. She was holding his hand, Em. Holding hands. Like teenagers. It's mortifying. What if he moves in here? What if she tries to bring him into our house? Our house. I stood there, frozen. She wouldn't, Emily said. But she didn't sound certain. She might. She's clearly not thinking straight. And honestly, I'm getting tired of tiptoeing around her feelings. This is our home. We live here. She should be grateful we're letting her stay. Letting her stay. In the house I owned, I went to my room very quietly, closed the door, sat on my bed, and pulled out my phone. Patricia Chen answered on the second ring. Mrs. Morrison. Have you made a decision? I have. I'd like to proceed with the notice to vacate. 60 days. Are you certain? This is going to be difficult. I'm certain. All right. Come by the office tomorrow. We'll make it official. I hung up and sat there in the dark, in my guest suite in my own house, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Power. The notice was delivered on a Saturday morning. Patricia had suggested a process server, someone official, but I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to look Emily in the eye. I waited until everyone was together. Lunch. The twins were at a friend's house for a playdate. Just us adults. I need to talk to you both. I set my coffee cup down. My hands were steady. About? Emily was scrolling through her phone. I'm giving you notice. 60 days. I need you to find somewhere else to live. The phone clattered onto the table. What? This is my house. I own it. I've let you live here rent-free for 2 years, but that arrangement is ending. You have 60 days to find new accommodations. Jake leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. You're joking. I'm not joking. I slid the official notice across the table. This is a legal notice to vacate. 60 days from today. Emily's face went white, then red. You can't. This is our home. It's my house. We live here. The kids go to school here. You can't just kick us out. I can. And I am. Why? Jake's voice was sharp. Because we asked you to stop embarrassing yourself? Because we had legitimate concerns about you making a fool of yourself with some man? No. Because you forgot that I'm a person. Because you treated me like an inconvenience in my own home. Because you opened my mail, read my private messages, mocked my choices, and told me I was too old to be alive. We never said that. You said I was too old to date, too old to wear what I wanted, too old to make my own decisions. You said I should be grateful you were letting me stay in my own house. Emily stood up, shaking. I'm your daughter. You're supposed to help me. You're supposed to be here for us, for your grandchildren, not gallivanting around town with some man. I bought this house with my money. I put the deed in my name. I never signed it over to you. You've lived here free for 2 years while you got back on your feet. You're on your feet now. It's time to go. Mom, 60 days, Emily. I stood up, left the notice on the table, and walked out of the kitchen. Went to my room, closed the door, and I waited. The crying started within minutes. Emily, sobbing upstairs. Then Jake's angry voice. Then more crying. They didn't speak to me for 3 days. On day 4, Emily tried reasoning. Mom, please. We can work this out. We'll be more respectful. We'll include you more. Just please don't make us move. 60 days. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my problem. What about the twins? Their school? They're resilient. They'll adjust. You're being cruel. No, I'm being clear. She tried guilt next. After everything we've been through, after Dad left you and we were there for you. You were there for me? When? When you told me my life was over? When you mocked my relationship? When you read my private messages and made me feel like a burden? She didn't have an answer for that. Jake tried intimidation. You can't legally kick us out. We have rights. I have a lawyer. Do you? His jaw tightened. He didn't answer. The twins came home from their playdate, and Emily told them Grammy was making them move. They cried. They didn't understand. I hugged them, told them I loved them, and that sometimes adults make hard decisions. But why, Grammy? Don't you love us? I love you very much. That's why I helped your parents when they needed it. But this house belongs to me, and I need to live my own life now. But where will we go? Your parents will find a place. That night, Emily showed up at my door. Not angry, not crying, just defeated. Is this about Robert? This is about respect, Emily. It's about remembering that I'm a person with a life that doesn't end just because I'm a grandmother. It's about you forgetting that I exist outside of what I can do for you. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word. And maybe if you'd caught yourself, apologized, tried to see me, but you didn't. You doubled down. You made me smaller and smaller until I almost forgot that I owned the walls around me. She was quiet for a long moment. What if we paid rent? What if we— No, I don't want to be your landlord. I don't want to negotiate boundaries with you. I want my house back. I want my life back. And Robert? Are you going to move him in? Replace your family with him? I don't know what Robert and I will be. But whatever we are, it'll be my choice, not yours. She left. The door closed softly behind her. 60 days is both forever and no time at all. For the first week, there was cold silence. The second week brought renewed attempts at negotiation, manipulation, guilt. By week 3, they were packing. Jake found a rental across town. Smaller, more expensive. He shot me looks of pure venom every time we crossed paths. Emily cried a lot. But she also started boxing up her things, and I noticed something. She never apologized. Never once said, "I was wrong." Just, "I can't believe you're doing this," as if I was the one who'd done something unforgivable. The twins were confused and hurt, but I made sure to see them. Took them for ice cream, told them I'd still be Grammy, still be part of their lives, just in a different way. "Will we ever live with you again?" my granddaughter asked. "Probably not, sweetheart, but you can visit, and I can visit you, and I'll always be here when you need me. Even though Mommy says you don't love us anymore?" I pulled her close. "Your mommy's hurt right now, but I love you so much. Don't ever doubt that." Robert came over on day 58. It was the first time he'd been inside the house. Emily and Jake were at their new place, moving boxes, and I'd stayed behind to clean. He walked through the rooms, saw the space that was about to be mine again, and pulled me into a hug. "You did it." I did. "How do you feel?" "Terrified. Relieved. Free." "What happens now?" "Now I figure out who Linda is when she's not trying to make herself smaller for someone else's comfort." He kissed my forehead. "I know who Linda is. She's the woman who reaches for the same book I do, who laughs at my terrible jokes, who paints terrible watercolors and owns it, who's brave enough to choose herself." I cried then. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Moving day was quiet. Emily barely looked at me. Jake didn't say goodbye. The twins hugged me and cried, and I promised them a sleepover once they were settled. They drove away, Jake's truck loaded with boxes, Emily's car following behind. I stood in the driveway and watched them go. Then I went back inside. My house, silent, empty. Mine. I walked through every room. The living room where I could now put my own furniture. The kitchen where I could cook what I wanted, when I wanted. The upstairs bedrooms that could become a studio, a library, whatever I chose. And my guest suite, my primary bedroom now, because I could make it that if I wanted, could knock down walls, expand, renovate. I called Robert. "They're gone." "How are you?" "I'm okay. I think I'm going to be okay. Want some company?" "Yes, please." He brought wine and takeout Chinese, and we sat on my living room floor because I'd already moved most of the furniture, and we talked about what comes next. "You could travel," he said. "We could travel. I've always wanted to see Ireland. I've always wanted to take a painting class. A real one. Not just at the senior center. You could do both." I could. He took my hand. "I know these past months have been hard. I know your family. They'll come around. Or they won't. But either way, I'm done making myself smaller. I'm done apologizing for existing." "Good." He squeezed my hand. "Because I happen to think your existence is pretty extraordinary." 3 months later, Emily called. Not to apologize, but to tell me the twins missed me, to ask if maybe they could visit. "Of course," I said. "When?" We arranged it. She dropped them off, still stiff, still hurt, but she dropped them off. The twins ran through the house, amazed at the changes. The studio I'd set up, the paintings on the walls, the photos of me and Robert from our trip to the coast. "Grammy, you look so happy in these pictures," my grandson said. "I am happy, sweetheart. Even without us?" Not without you. You're still part of my life. But yes, I'm happy in my own life too. When Emily picked them up, she paused in the doorway. The house looks nice. Thank you. You really did all this yourself? Robert helped with the heavy lifting. She nodded, hesitated. They want to come back next week, if that's okay. It's more than okay. She left. Still no apology. But it was something. A crack in the wall. I don't know if we'll ever fully repair what broke between us. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I know this. I'm not going to shrink myself to make her comfortable. I'm not going to apologize for being alive, for wanting love, for taking up space. I'm 63 years old. I survived a divorce. I bought a house. I fell in love again. I set boundaries with my own daughter and lived to tell the tale. And every morning, I wake up in my house, in my space, and I make coffee in my kitchen, and I think about what I want to do that day. Sometimes it's painting. Sometimes it's calling Robert. Sometimes it's just sitting in the quiet and remembering that I exist, that I'm still here, that my life isn't over. It's just beginning again.